this packaging is incredible. I mean, and it's so different for someone who hasn't had the experience of liquid death. Tell us what makes this water brand different, and what you're trying to do with it.
I think the most interesting thing now that even a lot of people still don't realize yet is that we've really become a healthy beverage platform and not just a water company. Still water sales, that can you're holding, less than 20% of our sales now. So most of our sales now are from our soda flavored sparkling water that's really like a healthy alternative to soda. And then we launched low calorie iced tea a couple of years ago, and we're now the number one iced tea brand on Amazon. So really what Liquid Death for me is about is we want to make healthy beverages that market in the same irreverent way as junk food and alcohol traditionally market. Like you think of the funniest commercials or ad campaigns of the last 20 years, it's all Snickers, Cheetos, Bud Light, Carl's Jr. Like it's all stuff that's kind of not great for you. It's the funny, irreverent stuff. We want to be a healthy, really good for you, better for you type brand, but that we market in that same funny and fun way as junk food, basically.
How'd you come up with the name Liquid Death?
With a marketing background, I knew in the early days when you launch a new brand, you're not going to have real marketing dollars to pay for media and eyeballs. So we needed to bake so much of the shareability and buzzworthy factor of the brand into the packaging itself. And your brand name is probably one of your most valuable assets on your packaging. So when we were looking at, okay, we're not going to be able to pay for marketing for a long time. So if someone sees this on the shelf, what are we betting on is going to force somebody to stop and say, wait a second, what is that? Pick it up off the shelf, maybe read a little bit of what's on the can, because if you can get the product in someone's hand, you are light years ahead of 95% of other brands, because a busy consumer walking through a store, they're not in a store to go explore all the new brands that have launched. They're there to get what they normally get in and get out. How are you going to actually stop them with 2 seconds of their time to divert them from what they normally do? And when you look at it that way, that's where names like Liquid Death start being like, well, I think that might actually stop somebody in their busy day when they're going to give me 2 seconds of their time. And that's kind of how we got there.
What was it that made you want to get in the water business in the first place?
Well, I knew I wanted to launch a truly healthy beverage, and water was the healthiest thing you could drink. And, I had drank a lot of water. I thought people didn't drink enough water. And it just, in the early days, it seemed simple because I had actually, years earlier, was involved in creating a alcohol company that we got off the ground. And, it was an okay thing. But the amount of red tape and legal with launching a spirit brand, with every state having different laws, and it was insane. So when I was going to do my second sort of product, I'm like, I want something very simple. What's the simplest thing? Now, it turned out that there was not a single co-packer in North America who could put non-carbonated spring water in cans. It did not exist in 2018 when I was launching this. So it actually was harder to produce than I thought it was. But that was the idea, was very healthy. Then the more I did my homework on it, it was like, wow, bottled water just passed carbonated soft drinks for the biggest beverage category by volume. So, okay, huge category. That's a good start. And then all these water brands all kind of market and look the same exact way. So, okay, easy to disrupt, check there. So really, it really just started checking all the boxes. So, getting into the bottled water space with canned still water as our first sort of product just made a lot of sense.
You mentioned earlier Nike. So Nike doesn't really outperform Skechers, but they can command a premium price because of what their brand really is. What do you think is most important, the brand or the product?
Both are very important. You can't. There was I forget who told me this. There was a great quote. They were like, "Nothing can kill a bad product faster than great marketing." Because yeah, you get great marketing will get everybody at least curious to go try it. But if it's not something that people enjoy, they're never going to buy it again. And it's just going to be a up and down and that's it. So you have to have a quality product. I think where people get confused is in the nuance of product quality probably matters less. Like this water versus that water has zero 0.7 more electrolytes than this one. The perception that people have between product quality across a category is not as dramatic as people think. But it has to be above that level of what you would consider good. But the idea between good and great is too blurry, and what one person thinks is great, one other person hates. So it's hard to get there. But as long as it's good, I think you can be successful, and that's what's important. And then, yes, of course, the brand in most categories is really important because most categories, whether people realize it or not, are commodities. Whether that's water, whether that's soda, whether that's beer, whether that's shoes. And if you're just a commodity without the brand, the only way you can really win is price. And as a small company, you're limited on what you can do on price because you only get margin if you've got the economies of scale where you own factories and you own trucks and all of that. So it's not a one size fits all. It's like, hey, if you're in an industry like LaCroix, great example, they've owned their manufacturing for a long time. So they could go right in and price lower than everybody else. So brand is probably less critical because you can just instantly undercut everybody on price. But if you don't have price as an advantage, you better have a strong brand that's going to get someone to choose you as the more expensive item where you are.
You know, I love what you said in one interview, Mike. You said you don't need to invent something new. You need to make something people already love way cooler. Say more.
I mean, yeah, it depends what you mean by, again, if inventing a completely new liquid is what we mean by invention. I mean, a brand itself is an invention. You're trying to create something new that is solving some kind of problem, right? For us, the problem I was trying to solve was healthy products are only marketed to people who are already health conscious, right? How do you get the guy that doesn't care about health, the trucker that's buying 2 Monster Energies a day or drinking just tons of sugar? How do you get that guy to start making slightly healthy choices through brand? And that's kind of what we were doing. It's, hey, the coolest product for kids to walk around with are things that are bad because all the cool marketing is really just for sugar and junk. And they're the ones who invest money into youth culture and men specifically. Like men don't typically make as many healthy choices as women. So all these healthy brands are really female focused, targeting an older demographic. And then sugar and crap is all targeted to kids and men. So our idea was, hey, how do I make healthy products for people that nobody makes healthy products for? And that was kind of our invention was, hey, let's make something that is really good for you, but make it look like beer. Make it look like something that should be full of sugar that, you know, whether this inner city kid will walk around with in front of his friends and not feel embarrassed because he's walking around with, I don't know, a Fiji that's got a pink flower on it, right? It's like the emotional things and why we make decisions like fashion and that do matter. So that was kind of our invention was we wanted to create a healthy brand for people that nobody makes healthy brands for.